Since 1979, when Steve Millen took the event in a slightly different format, the Ashley Forest Rallysprint has carved a name for itself in the history of New Zealand motorsport. And now, after a 2-year hiatus due to COVID-19, it was back. Also back, current record holder in his New Zealand spec AP4 Hyundai, the 5 times and current New Zealand champion, past and future star of the WRC, Hayden Padden, this time driving his Padden Motorsport developed Hyundai Kona EV.
Yeah, it was obviously we've had a bit of rain lately, so the road, I don't know if the road's going to come to its premium this weekend, because obviously the trees are a lot higher, a bit of moisture in the lead up to the event, so it's going to be a big question if the road can dry out come tomorrow afternoon. But just looking forward to being here. Obviously a bit of a different car, so a lot to learn and see if we, well, obviously enjoy it, but see how much we can improve it.
We saw the EV at Waimate at the Horsepower Hill Climb. Have you driven much since then in that car?
I've done one other Tarmac event, but the car's actually been parked up for 6 months. We were waiting on some parts out of Europe which held it up, so this is almost its first time back since Waimate. It's got another motor on it now, so at Waimate had 2, now it's got 3. The beauty of just being able to bolt motors on, so it's a little bit different, but yeah, it's a lot of fun to drive. We're just trying to work out how we can get the most out of it.
Rotorua's Sloane Cox had his course record broken in 2019 by Padden, and now 3 years on, he wanted it back. I mean, you're in the 101s this morning.
Yeah, and I think I had him by maybe 0.2 of a second by nothing, but that's what we had, just to keep him honest. And first time against this electric car, we don't know what to expect.
I guess more than anything, you want your record back, and if you do get your record back, chances are you're going to win this thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the record this year, but always here to win and try and break the record. But 2 years not been here, a little bit rusty, but we'll see what we can do. See tomorrow if we get close to it, we'll push for it. We've got the tyres here for that. We know the car can do it. It's just how I feel when it comes time to actually make a good run.
Second to Scotsman Alison McRae in 2018 means you never count out Blenheim's Neil Webb.
I know the road's pretty loose, There's still a lot of loose gravel, and I don't know it's going to dry up that much now with the trees sort of covering most of the road. So, yeah, hard to say. I'm sort of just hanging on at the moment. There's a few things in the car I'll probably try and change before the next run, but we'll see if it gets better. Could get worse. You never know.
Ready for anything was Richard Bateman, complete with 2 cars and a large support crew. 1 car in New Zealand rally spec, the other a lightweight, high horsepower, unlimited contender. And you brought a bit of a weapon.
Yeah, I bought 2 of them actually, so again, mechanicals held us up before, so if we can negate the mechanical by having 2 cars and maybe get the guy behind the wheel to be a bit smarter, we might get it together.
David Quantock drove the Skoda AP4 he often shares with his son, fast on both Saturday and Sunday. Put together 2 101s, a surprise probably for the spectators, but not so much for you?
No, it wasn't a big surprise for me actually. I was hoping I'd go under a minute, but I don't think the road's got it in it today. And we bounced out of a couple of corners with 4-hour suspension, so I don't know how some of these other fellas are actually doing it, but maybe there's a bit there yet. There's still some time up there for us, but it's just a matter of how much we push to get it or when we push to get it, really.
The legend that is Trevor Crowe won his first Ashley Forest back in 1985 in his V8 Starlet. The now 78-year-old king of the hybrids is back with another one. Trevor Crowe, the resurgence of the Justy. Tell us all about that.
Well, we first built one in 2005, rode it off in 2015, so it's the longest race car we ever had. And then I tried to buy back a couple of my early cars, just for, something to do. And when the guys didn't want to sell them, I thought, hell with it, I'll build another Justy. With me, it's always part of the enjoyment is building it. So it's been just a lot of fun, really. And this is the first time it's turned a wheel, really. We only finished it yesterday.
Out of the Crowe stables and making his Ashley Forest debut was past Pre-65 champion Corey Ross. How was that first run this morning?
Oh, it was pretty scary. It's a bit slippery. It's a really wild piece of road, and coming down that hill was pretty crazy. And I probably wouldn't normally drive like that if it wasn't for guys like Trevor and Josh and that telling me you can go down there without braking and holding your foot flat.
David Nixon has taken 10 years to build his Colin McKay tribute Subaru. He was making his Ashley Forest debut.
I think you've got to approach it with with an appropriate amount of respect, and then just try and sort of wait for the road to wake up a bit and find speed over the course of the weekend. So as long as you're taking a few seconds off each run, I think that's the main thing.
The Ashley Forest Rallysprint, promoted by Ratec, is run as a sudden death elimination series. From 32 we go to 16, then 8, 4 and then 2. In the top 32, Hayden Padden hit his Hyundai EV under the minute with a 58.53. Literally pulled out of a barn 8 years ago, Chris Herdman's Toyota Starlet had been developed into a race winner. Looking to repeat the feats of 3 years ago, his 1:16.22, putting him in the 0 to 1300cc runoff. Dunsandle's Kerry Sloane began his rallying career sitting beside his brother as a navigator. He takes the steering wheel here at Ashley in another Toyota Starlet. This one a 1600 powered by a 4 AGE engine. Car number 34 sees Tim McDonald in his Ford Escort 1600 Mark II, another swapping the navigating seat. He'd been co-driving for Kerry Sloane for the last 2 years. His Ashley Forest debut netting him 27th overall and a spot in the 1301 to 1600cc class runoff. You may think you're seeing double, but you're not. Looking a lot like the McDonald car was Tim McIver's BDA 2-litre Escort. Tim was making his Ashley debut, but strangely the car wasn't. It had been here before in the hands of Stu Reid. Hybrid King Trevor Crowe would easily identify with Auckland's Nick Speedy. The motorsport veteran was making his Ashley Forest debut in his LS1 Chev-powered Subaru Impreza. From a dirt racing background, he was quickly on the pace. The fairy tale debut for the Crowe Sport Justy of Trevor Crowe came to an end just metres into the top 32 run. A broken driveline putting the Subaru on the trailer for the rest of the day.
Neutrals for Trevor Crowe. Still running.
Sharing the Tim McIver-owned BDG twin cam was Australian domiciled Scotsman Stuart Reid. Reid, a regular at the Otago Classic, beat the car's owner here with a 1:17.08. Richard Bateman has entered 2 cars in this year's Ashley Forest Rallysprint, a New Zealand spec rally car for rally 4-wheel drive and a hot rod for Unlimited. The car making it into the 16 with a 1:04.48. Bateman's goal, a sub 1 minute run. Ari Pettigrew is in his familiar but now much faster BMW 318i. An ex-grass cutter, his competition rally debut was at this very event in 2016. And he has tasted success in the last 2 years in the unlimited 2-wheel drive class. 12 times unlimited 2-wheel drive champion Mosgill's Chris Hay had undertaken a big refresh to try and go under the magic minute. But a driveline breakage threatened his chances in the top 32. His 1:42 way off his usual blistering pace. Dave Nixon's tribute work Subaru replica had been 10 years in construction, so a cautious start was understandable. The car is immaculate with lots of genuine period parts. His 1:08.87 went he would miss the next elimination. Shane McKenzie lives just down the road in Rangiora, a long-time 1600cc runner. He drove the ex-Bruce Herbert Mitsubishi Gallon, 1:10.17. Mosgill's Nigel Lawson started his racing career as a teenager and as a navigator, not a driver, in the clubman's favourite, a Toyota Starlet. A first-timer here in 2018, he was back in his Lancer. Another newbie and another near neighbour is Wood End's Dwayne Kennan. After 7 years racing Speedway street stocks, he makes his Ashley Forest debut. In trouble at the kink going up the hill the first time for Jacob Bennett. The flirtation with the scrubbery costing the newbie a second or two. A 1:16.53 and 29th overall. Easily the most popular car in terms of ownership is the Toyota Starlet, with 9 competing at the 2022 edition of the Ashley Forest Rallysprint, spread over 2 classes. Starting his rallying in a Datsun in the 80s and now a Starlet convert, Christchurch's Peter Murch.
What you did yesterday doesn't matter. It's what happens right on those runs, and you know, a bit of mindset comes into it. You can just one run, you can cock it up in one corner, and that's it. That's enough, and you've finished third again.
Defending his title from 3 years ago in the Waste Company 0 to 1300cc class was Chris Herdman. Chris, you've been doing this a while now. How many Ashley Forests is this for you?
Yeah, this would be Oh, 7 or 8, yeah, over the years, yeah. Yeah, a few missed ones, but definitely I'm into it now these days, yeah.
And always at the sharp end?
Oh, yeah, don't generally turn up to get second. Yeah, that's the one.
Third again in the Waistco North to 1300cc class was Christchurch's Mr Motorsport Peter Merge in his Suzuki-powered Starlet. In second place was Blenheim's Paul Rowan, who stopped the clocks with a 1:14.85. The champion in the Waistco North to 1300cc class, defending his title from 3 years ago, Chris Herdman with a 1:13.62.
I knew the time they'd done, and I knew I could do it, but you still got to piece it together, and it was actually a really good run, clean run, and yeah, probably as fast as I could do on that road.
Onto the Parks Engineering 1301 to 1600cc class. In third place in his Toyota Levin was Liam G of Blenheim. Second in the Parks Engineering class was Tim McDonald in his 1600cc Mark II Ford Escort. The champion in the 1301 to 1600 class, sponsored by Parks Engineering, with a winning time of 1:13.19 in his Starlet, was Kerry Sloane. Taking nearly a full second off his previous best time to reach the next elimination was Christchurch's Justin Prattley in his full Group A spec 323, clocking in with a 1:07.42. The best result in past Ashley Forest Rally Sprints was 16th. That was beaten by Corey McCaskill in the ex-Matt Jansen Subaru Impreza. 13th, lucky for him. Willie Hawes had 2 cars in the event, but the most impressive, complete with a huge functional rear wing, was his Toyota Celica, a best time of 1:06.18. A sleepless night for the crew to repair damage from a qualifying crash paid off for Sheldon Bell in his Mitsubishi. His 1:05.37 here saw him moving up. Vanel Ott started his rallying career, like so many others, in the co-driver's seat with Mike Baltrop. He purchased this car in 2020 and it took him to a 1:10.46 for 20th overall. Stefan Moser-Russ competes in this car on gravel and tarmac. Making north of 500 horsepower, it can be a handful. This was Stefan's first time at Ashley and he struggled a little. A wolf in sheep's clothing best describes the Mitsubishi Evo 1 of Jeremy Beaton. It runs Evo 5 gear and a stroker engine. His 1:06.93 saw him comfortably into the 16. Dave Ollis in the 2015 WRX had one goal in mind, and that was to beat his last year's time of 1:04. Maybe it was the state of the road, but he didn't get close, 1:07.93. No harm, no foul for this spin for Mike Baltrop, costing him any further advancement due to the sudden death nature of the event. David Quantock in one of the first AP4 cars built by Force Motorsport was fast from the start. The Q Sport Skoda dropped a few jaws with a 1:01.91 and he easily progressed on. Jason Clark is a 2-time Top of the South champion and he had won the rally class here in 2017 and was looking to do the same. A 1:03.47, a great start for the Nelsonian. Gareth McLaughlin has been making the trip from Hastings to compete here at Ashley Forest for 4 times now. His immaculate and fast gallant VR4 tasked with putting him into the top 8, a position he held back in 2019. If everything was aligned right, Richard Bateman wanted to beat the magic minute and had brought 2 cars to do it. Here in his unlimited Mitsubishi, he was getting close at 102.57. Someone always looking to go faster is Blenheim's Neil Webb and his son Jack, second in 2018, and after a bit of a refresh, his 102.20 meant he was on track. It took 17 years to do it, but Sloane Cox broke the long-standing record of Kim Austin of 56.57 and took it down further to 54.96. His 58.18 quickest in the 32, and more importantly for the Taslow group, faster than Hayden Padden. Well, a chance to have a look at the top 16 now, and it is Sloane Cox ahead of Hayden Padden, Dave Quantock in third, and then it's Neil Webb, Richard Bateman, Clark, McLaughlin and Bell. Running their own separate class were the Crosscars, built by CMOG out of Portugal and originally brought to New Zealand by the Padden Rallysprint group. These motorcycle engine-powered lightweights are a thrill a minute, running a Suzuki GSX 750cc engine that puts out about 150 horsepower, complete with 6-speed sequential gearbox and controlled EXT shocks. The CMOG Crosscarts were setting some impressive times.
Yeah, they are. They're a lot of fun, and the competition's always really tight, which is great. Everyone's got the same vehicle, and that's what makes it so close, the competition.
Part of the demonstration, Harry Silcock, son of John, a champion here in 2012. He shared the crosscar with Sean Haggerty, 4th quickest with a 106.47. Second quickest in the CMOG demo runs was Speedway competitor Scott Alexander. The man from Blenheim's best time was a quick 103.82. The time would have put him in the top 8 eliminations. Sean Haggerty had broken the minute at Ashley Forest before, but that was in the Subaru Impreza. Here in the crosscar he shares with Harry Silcock a 102.96 for the man known as the Haggis Muncher. Fittingly, it was the current New Zealand crosscar champion who went fastest in the demonstration run. Christchurch's Matt Penrose has competed here 4 times previously in a Subaru Impreza with a personal best of 59.07. As these onboard shots and outside shots show, the 440 kilogram cars are relatively stable in quick handling and fast. Matt's best time of 101.39 would have seen him just miss out on a top spot in the 4 this year. Always popular at the Ashley Forest Rallysprint are the classic 2-wheel drive cars. They ruled the roost for the first 10 years here. Whether it's the hang-it-all-out, tail-out driving or the beautiful noise these cars make on full song, the crowd loved them. In the pub charity-sponsored classic 2-wheel drive class runoff, we had the unusual situation of 3 drivers but only 2 cars, an RX-7 and a BDA Escort. One of the Escort drivers, a transplanted Scotsman now living in Australia.
Yeah, look, it's great to be back. It seems such a long time since COVID appeared, and now that the world's freeing up a little bit. But yeah, great to get back behind an Escort, and what a fantastic venue. And the weather you've turned on today, pretty impressive.
And they're pretty special Escorts, aren't they?
Look, it's a classic car. In their day, they were the B's and E's, and some of the most famous people in rallying in the world have driven them. So it's a pleasure to get to drive Tim MacGyver's.
First to go in the car he owns, Tim MacGyver from Christchurch, another first timer this year. He would finish third. All concentration. Before the start was Stuart Reid, also driving the MacGyver Escort. Tim's time a 1:12.57, Reid's a 1:10.22. Last to go in the pub charity sponsored class, Waimati's Bert Murray and his ex-Richard Kelsey Group B Mazda RX-7. The past rally champion and hill climb champion's time, a winning one, 1:09.39.
Bert, my friend, they say sometimes that waiting's a good thing. Waiting was a good thing today for you.
Yeah, I think so. You know, I didn't see any point in doing the 32, you know, like gained a few places, so didn't do the 32 run and just saved it for this race here. I just took Stewie Reid for a ride, so it'd be good to have a yarn to him.
As soon as it got going, the grip was great, and Bert drove it like he stole it, so it was a great run for me.
Hayden Padden and Sloane Cox have been trading time since qualifying. Cox fastest in the 32 and Padden pipping him in the top 16. A 58.14, throwing down the challenge yet again. Pettigrew is a young man in a hurry, now working for Hayden Padden. He and his team had developed the BMW 318 to make it fast and reliable. Traits you need here at Ashley Forest. His top 16 time of 1:05.71, proving both. With road conditions not conducive to setting record times, Richard Bateman's goal of a sub 1 minute was now looking less likely. A 1:04.48 for his Rallyspec Mitsubishi Evo 9 in the top 16. Justin Prattley has a great pedigree. He was the New Zealand hill climb champion in the 95-96 season. His Mazda has some pedigree as well, with bits from both Neil Orport and Greg Taylor's similar car. A 1:07.42 in the top 16. Corey McCaskill has been competing here since 2016. Crashed during qualifying in 2018, didn't stop his best performance of 16th overall. His 1:07.07 put him 30. Willie Hoare's top 16 time was a 1:07.27, and after 5 years of competing at the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, it was his best finish and fastest time to date. Now fully repaired and recovered from his qualifying crash, Sheldon Bell dropped the hammer and his times in the top 16, taking nearly a second off his top 32 time with a 1:04.17. Stefan Moser-Rust had won the Model Garage Hill Climb at last year's Waimati 50. He had every aero advantage known and more power than most, but an issue in the top 16 meant he would go no further. Jeremy Beaton was another who kept getting faster as he went through the eliminations. His Evo 5 and Evo 1 Disguise dropped nearly a second from the 32 to a 1:05.13. It got him 10th and so close to the top 8. Dave Ollis drove the immaculate Subaru to 11th overall. We had seen heroics from this car before in the hands of Gavin Thomas, but Ollis was far from disgraced. A 1:05.14 after a moment at the hairpin, a great recovery. A 1:01.91 in the 32 and a 1:01.62 for David Quantock in his Skoda Fabia AP4. This put him easily into the rarefied air of a top 8, the man who started rallying back in the 80s. Also into the next elimination was Blenheim's Jason Clark in his Evo 5 in Group A trim. He dropped a 1:03.47 in the 32 and then went even quicker here in the 16 with a 1:03.20. Whatever they were feeding Gareth McLaughlin was working. He dropped a full 3 seconds from the 32 to scorch home here in the 16 with a 101.66, meaning one of the oldest cars in the field was top 8 bound. Richard Bateman had one more roll of the dice to make the 8. He couldn't do it in the Rallyspec Evo 9, but the light and high horsepower copy just might. Richard drove it like he stole it and did it. His 103.24 good enough. When you've finished second in this event before, you know all about pressure and how to respond to it. Webb responded with his top 16 run, the first times in the zeros, a 1:00.77 and comfortably into the 8. Sloane Cox was having his dramas with his hill climb special, but here in the 16, his driver commitment and talent made up for it. A 58.27, putting the pressure back on Hayden Padden. So from 16 we will cut them to 8, and it's Hayden Padden still on top, but only by the slightest of margins from Sloane Cox and Neil Webb. There were plenty of dramas going on in the pits and behind the scenes. Chris Hay absolutely owns the unlimited two-wheel drive class. 12 times he's been a winner here. The interview we did on the Saturday, he was confident, but come race day he was battling to stay in the contest after driveline issues in the top 32 blew out his time.
I would like to break the minute, but I'm not sure that the road's going to be up to that today. We'll see tomorrow. We'll have a better idea tomorrow. I think we've got the machinery, but it dries out a bit and scrubs off a bit more. I think we'll be there. We're close.
Is it 12 titles now?
Yes, so far.
Chasing Chris all the way was young gun Ari Pettigrew in his heavily modified BMW 318i. Working with the PRG group, they had the BMW honed to perfection.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this car's reliable, so we know it's going to be there at the end, where Chris is probably a bit unsure. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we're trying our hardest anyway, so see what happens.
Had Trevor Crowe not dropped out of the top 32, again with driveline issues, there would have been no spot for Hay. There was definitely a spot for Waiuku's Nick Speedy in his Chevy LS1 V8-powered Subaru in the unlimited two-wheel drive runoff. His quickest run of the day, a 1:11.07. With a 1 minute time in his quiver, Chris Hay should have been untouchable in the unlimited two-wheel drive runoff. But a wounded Hay was a different prospect. Absolutely driving the wheels off his BMW, Ari Pettigrew was trying to mount pressure on the 12 times champion. 1:07.37 for second. For a guy that had gone 1:00.90 3 years ago, taking Kim Austin's two-wheel record in the process, a 1:07 or better seemed easy. Plenty of outside pressure, it wasn't. Would the repairs hold up? Would he keep it on the road? The answer was yes and yes. Hay stopped the clocks with a 1:05.82 to take the secure scaffolding title for the 13th time.
Is it enough to beat Ari? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, no, good enough.
Oh, good. Very pleased. It's been an eventful weekend. So that's great.
Because of the vagaries of the charging of the Hyundai Kona EV, Hayden Padden had always gone first in the eliminations. It was his chance to set a benchmark for the others to chase. He pulled out his fastest run so far with a 56.44, put the pressure back on his rivals. Sheldon Bell in the Rockpool Mitsubishi knew it was go time. Would he realistically make the top 4? No, but a fast time here would be satisfying and clinch the four-wheel drive rally title. A realistic chance to make the 4 was Dave Quantock of Christchurch in his Scotia Fabia. 101s in both the top 32 and the 16 meant the car was capable. A 1:00.02, so close to the sub-minute run here, meant Quantock was capable as well. A high 101 or a low 102 looked to be the cut-off for the 4. Jason Clark's best had been a 103.20 in the 16. A past winner of the Rally 4-wheel drive rally class here in 2017, he was contesting the Unlimited this time. Did the pressure get to the man from Blenheim? 103.53 for 8th.
103.52. I don't think that's going to do it.
Just over the minute with a 101.66 in the 16, put Hastings' Gareth McLaughlin into the 8 as a contender. With a 10th here and a 10th there, it would mark him as not only a surprise, but in the mix. Here in the 8, he went slightly slower than the 16 with a 101.95, paying a 101.66. He was outside looking in 5th. It was the last time for Richard Bateman to make a statement as well. Consistent in both cars during the day, he now knew that his goal of a sub 1 minute wasn't going to happen due to the road condition. His 102.31 here in the 8 would see him 6th overall. Neil Webb much prefers the tarmac to the gravel, but it didn't faze him here at Ashley Forest. His 100.77 in the 16 was about to get better for the past 2-time hill climb champion and club sport champion. His 100.44 again quicker and good enough to make the 4. There was plenty going on in the Taslow engineering pit. They had chased a persistent miss all afternoon and changed plug leads, coil packs to no avail. Sloane's answer, just go faster going down. Have a look at this.
Cox down the hill, through the Turbo tyres, finish line with the truck, hanging off the front left splitter.
Are you going into the grass cutting business? What happened there?
The car's still got a miss problem we can't get rid of, and I felt like I was losing too much time on that uphill, so I just fully committed on the downhill and just tried to keep it flat through there and ran a little bit wide.
Well, from a full field, we cut them from 32 to 16 to 8, and now here we are in the top 4.
You said top 8 was possible, and then suddenly it's top 4. How's the day gone?
That top 8 run was pretty good, and obviously managed 5th overall, and then hard luck for Dave, but it shows everything counts, and yeah, couldn't be more happier. Absolutely stoked, yeah.
Hard luck for Dave Quantock because a mechanical issue has kept him out, and that means that McLaughlin is in. This will be his best finish ever at Ashley Forest. Now this is a full throttle blast coming up to 160 kilometres an hour before they start braking and going down through the gearbox for the kink. That's the major obstacle here as they head up the hill. You're riding on board here with Gareth McLaughlin in the car they call Eva. In through the kink now, using the curb-to-curb strategy, if you like, from water table to the curb, to the outside to the inside. Looks like a pretty tidy run for the oldest car in the field, the Gallant VR4. Once again, we're back on board as he heads up to Notice and then towards the Repco hairpin. You've got to get this absolutely right. We'll get a split time for him, 37.98. That's the fastest split time he's done. So he's heading in the right direction. Off the edge, he plunges and down the hill. Next obstacle coming up will be the Player Hotel Dipper. Right down on the wheel marks as we ride once again with Gareth McLaughlin heading towards the Kumo Tyres flying finish, and it's going to be a good time. I don't think it's going to be a sub 1 minute. It's not. 101.37. So the man from Hastings sets the benchmark. 101.37 for Gareth McLaughlin. Nice and tidy at the apex of the hairpin, and maybe just drifting a little bit wide. And nice tidy run through the Kumo Tyres flying finish as well. Neil Webb next to go.
Is there parts in the course that you know that you can do better?
Oh, I think so. Just a bit braver, probably coming down through the dipper and that. Yeah, and just holes in the road at Notice, and yeah, just how hard you push into that. But you don't really know until you're there, and yeah, you hope you haven't overdone it. Yeah.
So Neil and his son Jack in the Webb Contractors Mitsubishi with the Evo 3 running gear, heads off on what may be his final run here at the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint for 2022. You're riding on the roof of the Mirage as he works his way toward the kink. Just got a little bit sideways here, as you saw. Once again, 160 kilometres an hour, heading down into the kink now he goes. Takes that nice and tidy. We have seen very few incidents in that tricky part of the circuit going up. This is just on 1 mile in the old language, 1.6 kilometres, and it's probably the most exciting 1.6 kilometres in the whole of rallying in New Zealand. Into the Repco hairpin he goes, nice and tidy out of noses. Look for the time, 38.03, so he's fractionally slower than what we saw from Gareth McLaughlin. Are we going to see a bit of an upset here? So Neil and Jack Webb are going to hurl this Mitsubishi down the hill. A 1:00.45 in the 8, that was his best to date. Let's see what he can stop the clock at here. He has been sub 1 minute before. The road's not up to the condition this time round. Are we going to see a sub-minute run? No, we don't. 1:00.81 for Neil and Jack Webb out of Blenheim. Will that be as far as he goes? Still to come, Sloane Cox and Hayden Padden. There is Sloane Cox. Have a look at this, nice and tidy through the kink and then up into noses. As I said, Neil loves the tarmac more than he loves the gravel. Does a pretty good job through the Plough Hotel Dipper as well. While they have had their issues, have the Taslow engineering team.
Yeah, well, right now we've got the 2 fastest times still, so all going as it's going. We'll be us 2 in the final, but we know the final 2 we need all our power back. So if we can inject the change now, just try and narrow it down because we haven't quite eliminated what this problem is.
Well, we've seen before that Sloane Cox compensates with the slight miss in the engine by flinging this thing down the hill. This is the ex-Andrew Hawkswood Pikes Peak Hill Climb Special. Now running a 6-speed Hollinger gearbox and a Borg-Warner EFR turbo, so quite a few modifications from in the day when Andrew Hawkswood owned this machine. Twice it went to Pikes Peak. Has been a record holder at the hands of Sloane Cox. They have been plagued in the past by driveline issues. Oh, and he's just a little bit wide out of the kink, and when you're thinking about coming up against Hayden Padden, probably the best rally driver this country's seen, every little inch is so important. Once again, he gets a little bit wide, coming down into the hairpin now, into the braking area, down through the gearbox, up on the handbrake, 35.63. He smashes the time of both Gareth McLaughlin and Neil Webb. So this is going to be quick, I would think. He was in the 58s from the top 32 on. Is he going to be faster than that? He flies down the hill through the Kumo tyres, flying finish, and it is going to be a 56-second run. It is 56.91. That puts the pressure on Hayden Padden, and I see they've lost the rear window as well. And there is Hayden Padden, and the contenders meet as they head in the opposite direction. There goes the window, and that was a balls-to-the-wall run for Sloane Cox.
Mate, they say the cream rises to the top. We're nearly to the top.
Yeah, it's obviously going to be pretty close. It's a matter of trying to get through with a clean run on the top 4 here, and I think Sloane's got a lot left, so we're going to have to push pretty hard on the final run.
Well, Hayden Padden owns the course record here, 52.77. That was in the Hyundai AP4 car. Here he is in the Kona EV. He's been the fastest so far with a 56.44, but Sloane Cox has really laid the gauntlet down. You're on board here with Padden in the Kona Evo as it just accelerates and keeps on accelerating as he works his way towards the kink. Sets the car up beautifully into the kink. He comes right down on the water table. Oh, just a fraction wide, if you like. You see the front splitter and even the skirts grabbing the gravel road here at Ashley Forest as he works down towards the hardest corner in the course, and that is the Repco hairpin. You've got to get this absolutely dead right. He nearly scrubs the right front guard on the tractor tyre, but the split is a 35.19. Sloane Cox's split was a 35.63. He's on target to go a little bit faster yet. Flying down the hill through the dipper, the Plough Hotel dipper, and into the Kumo tyres flying finish. Are we going to see a sub 55-second clocking? No, we're not. 56.31. So he goes faster than Cox. He goes to the top. We have found the 2 at the Ashley Forest Rally Sprint for 2022, and it will be Hayden Padden, the record holder, up against Sloane Cox. Have a look at the replays here as he makes his way to the hairpin. This is virtually the perfect line, just drifts a little bit wide out into the soft stuff, and then he plunges it down the hill, and the result is a 56.31. Well, and then there were just two. Hayden Padden with the 56.31. Sloane Cox, 0.60 seconds in it. Who will win the 2022 edition of the Ratec organised Ashley Forest Rally Sprint? This is Sloane Cox. Hasty repairs on the rear window. He has had problems in the past with driveline issues getting off the line here. He's bolted on new rubber on all four corners. You ride with him here as he heads up the hill. Once again, 160 plus kilometres an hour. And you can see how the trees have grown up, and you can see why the road isn't in the perfect condition for record times. Yes, the gravel's been swept off it now, and it is fast, but it just probably still carrying a little bit of moisture in it. Through Noters, without, I said without too much trouble, but he gets a little bit wide coming through Noters, and that sets him up for a slower trajectory into the Repco hairpin, and this is going to cost maybe 100, maybe a little bit more. 34.91. Remember, we start with a clean slate, so it is 34.91. He sets the benchmark at the split time at the Repco hairpin. Now he plunges it downhill. We know that he's slightly faster than Hayden Padden on the downhill, heading through the Kumo tyres finish line now. He runs his fastest time, a 55.92. Well, can Hayden Padden respond? Sloane Cox, they say when the going gets tough, the tough get going, and that's exactly what the man from Rotorua has done. 55.92. Here it is on the replay. We said it was a little bit wide coming out of Noters. That cost him a little bit of time, and it slowed the trajectory into the hairpin, but he absolutely threw it down the hill. A little bit wide coming out of the dipper, nearly wiping off the winglet on the right-hand side, and cutting the grass again in the replay. Wow!
That was everything on the line there. Could be tidier.
Well, that was the understatement of the year. Have a look at this as he gives the spectators a bit of a fright coming out of the dipper, and then does some more grass cutting coming through the Kumo tyres finish. Can Hayden Padden respond? Of course he can. He's a star of the WRC. He's been racing in the WRC too. He's a multiple rally champion in New Zealand. This thing accelerates like a bullet out of a gun. Sloane Cox rumoured to have 900 horsepower. Hayden Padden in the Kona EV. You ride with him here as he heads up the hill. Split time for Cox was a 34.01, so that'll be in the back of the mind of Hayden Padden as he's all concentration as he comes through the kink. Nice and tight, good lines coming through there. This is where it started to go wrong a little bit for Sloane Cox, and that was coming up into Noters. Hayden Padden, though, right on the apex, just drifts it a little bit wide. Holds full power as he comes into the Repco hairpin. We saw he was so good on the hairpin the last time round, and once again we see a carbon copy, and the split time is a 34.64. Are we going to see a little bit of an upset here? Cox has got the horsepower, he's got the runs on the board. Hayden Padden shoots down the hill now through the Kumo tyres flying finish, and somehow he's picked it up because he's run a 55.54, and that is good enough. Hayden Padden is the 2022 Ashley Forest Rally Champion in the Kona EV. Here it is on the replay. This is coming out of the kink. Car bounced out, went just a little bit wide. Got into the soft stuff as he came into Noters. Pretty tidy though through the Repco hairpin, but then he absolutely stood on the gas and never got off it. Mate, I know it doesn't show on your face, but man, that was a hard-fought competition this weekend.
It's been very stressful today. Like our guys have worked so hard. Like there's a lot of challenges with this car. Like technology is very cool. It's an awesome car to drive, but at this early stage of development, there's so many challenges, and everyone's stepping up to the plate. So yeah, super stressful afternoon to be honest. So quite relieved that we're able to pull it off. But you know, Sloane did an awesome job as well. He was pushing us. You know, we had to find everything that we could out of this car. So it was a really cool battle.
For Hayden Padden. So Hayden Padden picks up the silverware here at Ashley Forest, and the Hyundai EV is 2 for 2. It won the Mount Shop Hill Climb in its competition debut, and he's repeated the dose here at Ashley Forest. Hayden Padden is your champion. Sloane Cox is second. A last look at the Hyundai Kona EV and the works of Hayden Padden, your champion for 2022. Make sure you come back in 2023. It's a must-see event. The Ashley Forest Rally Sprint, brought to you by Ratec.